Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
If you want Chiefs, follow the leader. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I don't know that it changes much. I don't know that we learned a lot of new, previously unseen things from the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs today. I don't know if your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be spent floating up near Cloud 9, where occasionally a Chiefs win may send you. But, mercifully, the Kansas City Chiefs stop their losing streak at 2. They defeat the New England Patriots in Foxborough by a final score of 27-17. I would argue it wasn't quite that close, quite that stressful in the second half, but exactly how much is that going to ultimately mean? We'll break down a whole lot of that here today on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. I am Joshua Brisco. Dylan Michaels on the other side of the glass. Covell Hudson producing the effort as well. I think that there were only so many things you could see from the Chiefs today, and frankly, I know I'm going to repeat myself some as the rest of the season continues, the regular season, that is. You're going to end this year with 4 consecutive games against 4 backup quarterbacks. Aiden O'Connell was a choice over Jimmy Garoppolo as opposed to the other injury losses. But you're going to have 4 quarterbacks who are certainly not plan A on 4 non-playoff teams the rest of the way. I guess the Bengals still have a chance to wedge that door open, but they're there. But ultimately, when you are adjusting for the level of competition, when you're adjusting for Bailey Zappi, you're adjusting in this case for a Patriots team that had very little juice in the tank to begin with, even less as injuries chipped away, even less as they had to retool the offense, and even less as they suffered offensive line injuries today. You can only prove so many things in that space. But the Chiefs were in a spot where a loss today would have been genuinely, riot-inducing. If the Chiefs would have lost today, we would have had the first Monday in a while where I think there was more excitement to talk about the Royals than the Chiefs. Royals wheeling and dealing, hot stove, hot stove, come on. The Chiefs lose 3 in a row. Everything's on fire. Let's look ahead to spring training. When do pitchers and catchers report? We're not in that space, which is a blessing. We're not in a position where the sky is literally or figuratively, depending on if you're in the media workroom at Arrowhead or not, falling from the sky. Not necessarily. They're fantastic. The Chiefs essentially handled their business today. But in large part, that ends up being sort of damning with faint praise. It ends up being, again, adjusted for the opponent. Where, look, I've covered this many times over the years here, but winning ugly and losing ugly feel very, very differently because just the results change. The process could be identical, but just the result alone is enough to completely change how you feel Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday morning. And so I don't want to negate that here because, again, the Chiefs needed this win. But the thing I'm going to be asking through, including today, the final 4 games of the regular season, noting that the level of opponent is not going to rise to who the Chiefs will play once they reach the playoffs, which they're still going to do. They're still maybe that's enough for you today. Say, hey, listen, they're still better than the Broncos. They're still going to win the AFC West. It's going to be all right. And they still got a shot for the 1 seed because they're playing some struggling teams in the back 4 games here. They could win out, get a little help against Baltimore. That's still on the table. But the question I'm asking myself today that I'm at least rhetorically asking you, and we'll start taking some calls in a little bit before we bring in Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and whoever else talks in Foxborough. The question I'm asking myself and asking to you is, do you think the game the Chiefs played today wins a playoff game? And then maybe beyond that, how many playoff games does this version of the Chiefs ultimately win? And today, they played well enough to beat the Patriots. Again, they beat them by 10, and it could have been more than that. Weirdly, the Patriots didn't go for it on 4th and medium at midfield when the game wasn't like over. Then they have to go for it later. Just a bunch of weird decisions all the way around. But the pair of unthinkable and incredibly frustrating interceptions, the number of times the ball was on the ground and it didn't ultimately bite the Chiefs, that's the exact type of game that gives Buffalo enough chances to beat you at Arrowhead in the wild card round. Obviously, that's an easy one because we just saw what I just said happen. But that's a game that Buffalo gets you with. That's a game that Miami probably gets you with. Certainly a game Baltimore gets you with. And that's the tough thing for me here. Here's something else that I might just have to declare. I may have to submit my resignation of a certain position I've been holding for a while. And I don't know why it's today and not last week, or why it wasn't last week or week 1. I saw Patrick Mahomes on the sideline today. And I think I may be resigning from my position as a diehard Kadarius Toney optimist. It might be ball game there. You get a nice play from Sky Moore. He puts the ball on the ground. Didn't come back to bite you because of the penalty, but Rashee Rice has a nice game. He has a fumble scare. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, beyond all reasonable logic, has an absolutely soaring touchdown grab that makes you think that maybe the Chiefs pass catchers just need to be running backs and tight ends. The Patriots defense, and with Bill Belichick, and I don't know where Travis Kelce ended the day in terms of receiving yards, but he was averaging something like 50-some yards in games against Belichick, I believe. He ends up with 28 today. That wasn't surprising. They were going to try to make somebody else beat you, and Rashee Rice gets near the 100-yard mark, 9 catches for 91 yards. A good day from him. Clyde 4 for 64. Noah Gray ends up with a great catch right out of the gate, only gets targeted one more time after that. But I was prepared to give the Chiefs offense more than full credit for looking good against the Patriots defensively. I really wanted to be able to say, hey, listen, I mean, no, this team all in all isn't very good, but they lost Travis Kelce to Bill Belichick in this game, and then you saw Noah Gray, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, MVS, somebody step up. And Clyde did, but that's not their ideal lineup. Like, he's not here taking back another grown man's job. Isaiah Pacheco still has that whenever he's healthy, whenever that is. And who knows if that's going to be in the regular season at all. Andy Reid said on Friday they're expecting him back this week after a little cleanup procedure for some floaters in his shoulder. So it still sounds like he should be back soon. But huge, next man up performance from Clyde. Not a solving the offensive problems, changing the offensive strategy. Not to take anything away from Clyde. It's not going to help them against Buffalo at Arrowhead in January. But I don't think we saw any real growth from the offense other than keep getting the ball to 4. Feed 4. And that'll be a good start. And it is a good start. It's a great start. But watching Mahomes on the sideline after the Kadarius Toney interception. And look, let me get I'm going to make sure I get the quote right here. Nate Taylor of The Athletic tweeted after the interception targeting Blake Bell that Patrick Mahomes had. Nate tweeted, on back-to-back drives, Trey Smith allows a sack and gives up the pressure that leads to Patrick Mahomes throwing a 50-50 ball in the middle of the field that is intercepted. If Mahomes had time, he could have thrown a deep pass to Justin Watson, who appeared one-on-one on the outside. That's Nate watching the, live all 22 being at the game in New England. Not a good day for the interior offensive line, just kind of by and large. You got bad reps from everybody at one time or another. Screen game, gorgeous. Actual pass pro and some of the interior runs, not ideal. Rough day for Trey Smith, especially the first half. But if that Mahomes pick to Blake Bell, you could tell me it's a bad decision, and I tend to agree with you. A 50-50 ball for, a 4-yard gain to your third best tight end and your fourth best pass-catching tight end if you want to include injured reserve. I don't know. Are we sure Jody Fortson can't come back? But, it's not the decision you'd like, but it's also not the situation you want Mahomes in. And can Blake Bell come back for the football at all? Can he beat a linebacker at the catch point? He couldn't. Spread the blame there, whatever. Kadarius Toney picks on Kadarius Toney. Mahomes might say, post-game here, he might say that ball was behind him. But when Mahomes puts the ball behind you, with this receiving core, I'm going to assume that the ball is where he wants you to be. He puts the ball behind him because he wants him to kind of pull up in that spot. It's behind him. He goes back for it, bats it up, bats it around. Patriots interception. Watching Mahomes on the sideline after that pick, mouthing whatever it was that he was saying. I've got a few of those words picked out. Many of them I can't safely repeat on the radio. But whatever else Mahomes was saying on the sideline there, it was the face and, from lip reading, the words of a quarterback who knows he just doesn't have enough friends. He does not have enough pass catchers who are going to make him better. He's got guys that 8 out of 10 times will take what is there, but 80% is not a good enough ratio when we're talking about catching passes that hit you in the hands. Travis Kelce dropped a touchdown today. Kadarius Toney gave up an interception, free turnover. Travis Kelce drops a touchdown. Blake Bell, whatever that was, turns into a pick. And they scored 27 points. Now, the super short field helps, and I want to talk about the Chiefs' defense again here. I'll get to that, and then we'll take some calls. We'll hear from Reid and Mahomes. But I just don't feel almost anything different about this offense. I think maybe we're all kind of giving the Chiefs 1.25% or 1.25 multiplier credit on this game offensively, because what we saw these last couple of weeks was so frustrating, that the recent past for the Chiefs have been so bleak that just getting a win is great, and it stabilizes the division, stabilizes the team. Them scoring another touchdown at the end of the game there instead of kneeling it out wouldn't change anything for me. I don't know why you don't just kick the field goal, whatever. It's not about the final score. It's about the way they got there. And the way they got there was pretty much the same way they've gotten everywhere this season, which is blowing off a couple of toes from shooting yourself in the foot, and you just see if you lose too much blood before the clock hits 0. They didn't bleed out today, in part because the Patriots were also guillotining toes. Hunter Henry has a good game, and that's a legitimate concern, I think, that without Brian Cook and with the linebackers in their current state, with the safeties in their current state, even as linebackers are healthy now, but I said it on purpose. Tight end matchups and some middle-of-the-field stuff is where offenses are going to try to attack the Chiefs' defense. When the pass rush isn't getting there without getting a little bit extra gassed up, that's not ideal. But Spags was dialing up good pressures all day. Blitz packages were fantastic. You got some great both coverage reps and open space tackle reps from L'Jarius Sneed, who continues to be excellent. The defense, for me, is the second story here, because the defense being more or less consistent, the defense being more or less the same unit we've seen is a positive expectation, and they hit that again today. Don't let 17 points totally startle you there. The Patriots had one legit touchdown drive, one touchdown that Kadarius Toney basically scored for them, and then the field goal on the Mahomes-Bell interception. You could definitely argue 7. Against an offense that hasn't been very good, that's what you want to see, and they delivered that. It wasn't completely stifling, completely dominant, whatever. I don't have any real desire to have a conversation about the Chiefs' defense today in anything other than the positive surprise that is this year of how good that unit has been. The Chiefs' defense, excellent through and through. Nothing different there today. Even without Joshua Williams, so you get Jalen Watson in there. He has a big sack in this game. This is... I will be genuinely curious to hear from you all who are on the phone lines right now, and I'll start taking those now. But I'm going to be genuinely curious to see how many of you have an opinion that has deviated at all from the last 6 weeks or so. What I'm expecting, I'm not, not necessarily a challenge. You don't have to come up with new takes if I do sort of pin this one for you. But what I'm generally expecting is... yeah, this is the Chiefs team that we thought we've seen before. They were playing a worse team than the Bills or Packers or Eagles, so they won. But I'm expecting a lot of anger toward Kadarius Toney. I'm expecting frustration amongst the pass catchers on behalf of Patrick Mahomes. I'm expecting belief in the Chiefs' defense. And in a lot of ways, I'm expecting to do a post-game show that's very similar from some other ones in the very, very recent past. So if anybody wants to surprise me on that, now is your chance to do it. Again, you don't need to inflate your takes. That's kind of where I'm at, and I'm guessing that I've got some friends in that regard, but let's find out. Leading us off here today is Bo. Bo, you're on 810. How you doing, Bo?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, I want to touch on a couple of things. First off, if I'm not mistaken, the last time Blake Bell tried to make a catch, wasn't it an interception too, or a fumble or something?
I think it was a catch and fumble. Right? He definitely had a catch and fumble. I don't know if it was his last reception, but yeah, recently.
Yeah, and the other thing is these pass catchers. I kind of blame Brett Veach. Right now, you could do some vet minimum. You could have got a Jarvis Landry or Zach Ertz or Kenny Galloway. They could catch the ball way better than Scantling, Kadarius Toney, and Blake Bell. I mean, you could get something like that for a vet minimum. And the other thing is this coaching staff so stubborn. I don't know why they don't go more to the screen game than anything else than trying to make those shots downfield, different things like that. Because these pass catchers are not stepping up at all. But you got to scheme to what you have, and it seems like they're not doing that. And I blame the front office as well for not taking a look at a trade deadline, or even right now at the end of the season with the catchers they got, somebody free agent out there could do better than those three right now. And I'll listen off the air.
Bo, I appreciate it. Look, I mean, I know we've covered a lot of this before, but I do wonder if the Chiefs have DeAndre Hopkins or somebody else, if they get Chris Jones signed to an extension like they were expecting to at the beginning of the offseason. That's not an excuse, though, because, yeah, I really don't know how this ended up being the group. But MVS takes a step back. Certainly they're surprised by that. They put a lot of chips on Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, and obviously those hands have not paid off to this point. Next up, we got Ryan. Ryan, you're on 810. How you feeling, Ryan?
Pretty good, actually.
I'll take it.
You know why?
Why?
Because they haven't been catching all year, so
yeah, it's
we're
not
still
new.
winning. Like we're winning. I honestly, Drew Tranquil on defense, he makes a big difference. Different kind of linebacker. I think we're doing fine right now where we're at. Okay, because of the defense keeps playing really hard and keeping us in the games. Toney, I honestly just keep him on the team, because whenever he does catch the ball, and he can make some, he's a skill player. Other than that, Rashee Rice is the big thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
Keep giving him the ball. He's improving as a rookie, That's what we got to do. I think that's the guy we got to go to more. And when does Pacheco come back? Is it next week? I mean, shoulder injury. What do we think?
Ryan, I appreciate it. So the Pacheco plan right now, Reid said on Friday that they expected to have him back this week, like back on the practice field after a good follow-up there in the presser. It was something to clean up floaters, a procedure to clean up floaters in his shoulder, so minimally invasive to get that out of there. I don't know exactly what went into it, but it sounds like he could be back this week. I wouldn't hold your breath, and frankly, I wouldn't rush it because I don't think that Isaiah Pacheco is going to be the difference, between the Chiefs closing out this season against the teams they have the rest of the way, but I don't know. We'll see if they end up trying to push him back. Totally agree, though. Defense is in great shape. Drew Tranquill is a legit difference maker, and that is why this Chiefs team is even in the position it is right now. Imagine where this team would be with even an average defense. Next up, we go to Gary. Gary, you're on 810. How you doing, Gary?
Well, I'm about like you. I'm kind of sitting on the fence on this game. It was the opponent. It wasn't really anything that the Chiefs did, but the Chiefs did everything they could to make sure New England stayed in the game. And, Kadarius Toney should be on the street looking for a job because he doesn't want to be here. Those 2 catches today, a better receiver would have had those. Or did you notice Devontae Parker in the first quarter coming back for a ball that he had gotten jammed at the line and came back for a ball and created the first down? Mm-hmm. You don't see Chiefs receivers do that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the back of the end zone. You wouldn't see a Chiefs receiver do that. They just let it go through their hands or just go crashing to the ground with the ball falling complete. I mean, you can say what you want about Edwards-Helaire, but at least there's effort there.
Absolutely.
There's no effort. There is no effort in that receiving room. And anybody that wants to blame Brett Veach for this, no. He and Andy Reid are in lockstep. You blame both of those guys. Don't blame just Veach. Veach is just Andy's sidekick. He's Andy's yes man. So let's start pointing the fingers at Andy because he's got just as much to say in the personnel as Brett Veach does. So this isn't anybody that's pointing all the blame at Brett Veach. No, it's on Andy too. Andy's got just as much to say in the personnel as he does. And I'm sorry, but if I'm Patrick Mahomes, Kadarius Toney would walk out of that locker room with a black eye today. I'm sorry. I just couldn't take it anymore. And let's congratulate Jawan Taylor, penalty number 18 today. he's 2 away from 20, so let's he kept his pace up. So does he have an incentive in his contract if he gets to 20 penalties? He gets a extra so many dollars into his contract. But this team, and I'm even going to say defensively, they're showing cracks. And everybody wants to talk about that receiver room. That defensive tackle room isn't any better. You just got Chris Jones in there, and that's it. It's just him and 4 other guys. So that defensive tackle room, Willie Gay, can you cover a tight end? With your speed and athleticism, there is no reason why this guy can't cover a tight end. And be thankful, should they see Baltimore in January, Mark Andrews isn't in there because that would kill this football team. And if they win a game, I'll be shocked. I'm not trying to sound cruel, but I think that this team is checked out. There's no intensity on this football team. They don't play with any intensity. They don't have any intensity, and it's not the coach's job to get these guys to be like that. You either are or you aren't. They just don't have that mentality. It's just the culture that Andy's created. This team is just not an intense football team. But, it's just ho-hum, another game. And anybody that thinks that the next 2 games are going to be a cakewalk, Oakland scored more points on the other night than the Chiefs have in their last 3 games. It's just hard to watch. I mean, your next 3 games are not going to be easy. And you think that – and when you're the only decent pressure they're generating, Josh – is when the corners are coming off the edge. It's the only time they're generating. You're not just getting anything from your front 4. But I'll hang up and listen. But these problems are not going to be solved until the off season. So let's just enjoy it and see what they do. But I'm not excited. I'll hang up and listen. Great show.
Gary, I appreciate it. And hey, look, we can never get to 100%, but there's a whole lot of stuff that you said there. Holy cow, the Bears almost just won on a Hail Mary. Oh, the Browns DB just picked it up off of the Bears receiver, and the Bears almost just won that game on a Hail Mary. Holy smokes. Okay, anyway, to your point, Gary, there's a whole bunch of stuff there that I agree with. I don't think it's fair to say that Andy Reid has a non-intense football team. I mean, their discipline and details and accountability and all of that is totally fair game, but that's okay. I'm going to focus on a bunch of the things you said there that I think you're right about. One is, look, I wouldn't say that Brett Veach is Andy Reid's sidekick or flunky or whatever you said, but when Andy Reid says, the personnel gets left up to Brett Veach, I think that's true for your majority of defensive personnel. I think that's true for guys, 20 through 53 on the roster. But the idea that Andy Reid is not also in part responsible for the receiving core the Chiefs have is, of course, incorrect. I mean, Andy Reid absolutely has a hand in that entire process. Defensive tackle room, it's kind of Chris Jones and just the other guys right now. I agree with that as well. I think that logic is sound enough to work here on the defensive side, not enough to be Travis Kelce and a bunch of random guys amongst the pass catchers. And there will be things that they need to improve on. The pass rush being today, it seemed like almost completely based on the blitz game and everything. That is not the way that you want to live. So I agree with a whole bunch of the things you brought there, Gary. But of course, we can't ever agree on 100% of things because I don't want Patrick Mahomes to turn into Draymond Green in the locker room. I'm going to draw the line right around there, but I appreciate you nonetheless. Next up, we go to Christopher. Christopher, you're on 810. What's up? How you doing?
Hey, excellent. We don't need a Draymond Green in the locker room, but
No.
we need a Tim Grunhard to shove a bat up somebody's ass.
I don't know if you can say that. That was close enough. You're fine.
I'm sorry.
Don't go any further than that.
Okay, yes, sir. Have you ever noticed, too, by the way, that Kadarius Toney doesn't have any eyebrows? What's up with that? I have no idea, because every time I look at that guy, man, it's really, really weird.
I don't know.
Anyway, the long story very short, there's a lot of things wrong with this team. Kadarius Toney is one of them. He needs to be cut. There's absolutely no reason why he should be on the team come Monday. This team has a lot of wide receivers. None of them, for the most part, are good except for Rice. So why keep him? You can't trust him. I think Patrick Mahomes officially lost trust in Kadarius Toney, and he made he made a couple good plays last year. We spent a draft pick on him. So what? Cut him. He's not worth it at this point in time, and I don't think any amount of coaching this year will salvage that. If you listen to him in the interview that he had earlier this year when he was interviewed by the reporters, he called the play bogus, and what do you mean, this and that. I mean, he's just not accountable. Cut him. The other thing that I would say is the sooner that Chris Jones, and I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I do think he's becoming maybe possibly a little bit toxic, but the sooner Chris Jones is off this team, the better. He's definitely a spot of contention, I think, for some of the coaches. That's just my opinion. Anyway, and I think this holdout is definitely coming into roost as far as him being a leader. I think we really missed Nick Bolton when he was gone, and Drew Tranquill being back today was fantastic.
Yes.
Other than that, I agree with Gary. There's no fixes that are going to be made this season. If we can win our divisional game and maybe win another game after that, I think we can consider that a very good season. But we just do not have the offensive weapons with an aging Travis Kelce that could even bail Mahomes out, and that's all that I've got to say.
Christopher,
Thank you, Josh.
I appreciate it, and look, I often do. I will nitpick on. I disagree about the Chris Jones side because I think that when we see this defense without Chris Jones, I think the impact he is having will also, to turn your phrase, come home to roost. But I also do think there's a little something in hey, the way that everything played out this year and where things stand. I think he's focused on business right now. I think that him being on this team is an excellent thing, but I also do wonder about just the general sort of state of that relationship. I am certainly curious with, and I've heard from several of you so far saying, "I just cut Kadarius Toney." He has been a liability, and that stinks because I also think he's the most talented receiver maybe on the roster, and certainly second to Rashee Rice, if not right there with Rashee Rice. But when you have all that talent and you keep making very similar mistakes time and time again, it much like with so many things we're saying about this Chiefs team, it's very hard to take the positive without packaging it with your negatives. And Kadarius Toney has been bringing so many negatives with his positives this year that, yeah, it would be very hard for me to disagree with you, Christopher, when you say, I think Patrick Mahomes lost faith, lost trust in Kadarius Toney today. The little sideline camera, and maybe Mahomes has been kind of talking to himself or coaches being frustrated with other drops so far this year. Maybe this was the first time we got the full sideline view of those frustrations, but man, how can you feel like Mahomes is going to go back to Kadarius Toney, or at least want to go back to Kadarius Toney? How do you feel when Mahomes goes to Kadarius Toney? It's tough, man. It's tough because his skill set is absolutely electric. Everything he brings as a wide receiver is so enticing to me, and yet the drawbacks have been as crushing as anyone's mistakes in all of football this year. I mean, really devastating, and it continues again today. It's hard to build that trust back up. Next, we go to Rodney. Rodney, you're on 810. How you feeling, Rodney?
Well, Josh, I'm pretty happy.
Good. Great.
I'm pretty happy. My campaign to say that Brett Veach, which I will not be blaming him, I will congratulate Veach for finding a left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
That saved him a ton of money. But I want people to look at things in a perspective. When Kadarius Toney was making plays, where exactly was he found? He did not have many snaps at the slot. He was on the outside, particularly on the right side of on the outside. Okay, so where are the interceptions that Kadarius Toney tipped up and got tipped off? All the passes that got tipped up and intercepted in the slot. Why? Go back to when he was doing with the Giants. Where was his problem at? In the slot. He belongs on the outside where he is most likely one-on-one. That's where Eric Bieniemy kept him on the outside. If he missed it, ball goes out of bounds, incomplete. It's not being tipped up because you're one-on-one with a corner. Now he's only focusing on one person, a corner. You in a slot. Anybody could go listen to Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. They say it all the time. When you're in a slot, you're worrying about 3 linebackers and a free safety. That's 4 guys you have to worry about. Kadarius Toney, if you put him on the outside, he's fine. So to me, I'm not blaming Brett Veach. I'm not even blaming Andy Reid. I'm blaming the common denominator from last year, your offensive coordinator. I said this on Twitter. People go look me up on True Rod KC. I've said it all the time. I'm going to say it. This is a nagging problem. Kadarius Toney too much as a gadget guy when he has to be outside. The plays that he made last year was on the outside. The skill set that he uses is on the outside. Rasheed Rice, yes, he can be in the middle because he's hard to bring down. Quick front, he's gone. Contested catches over the middle, he's gone. That's where he belongs. I even say put Sky Moore somewhere on the outside where he can use his ability to go one-on-one. I'm saying these wide receivers, they might look like they're bad. Yeah, I think they're being misused. Again, where's the opportunity? I know he's been suspended, but where's the opportunity for Justin Ross? I thought he was 6'6", 210, with the speed of 4.3 and have a nasty vertical. Where's his opportunity? We talking about we got the offensive guru and geniuses on our side skimming up plays. What is this? What is this? If we can sit here and watch the game and see that they have majority of their defenders in the middle of the field and it's one-on-one on the outside, why are we calling plays to go through the middle of the field?
It's a really interesting question, Rodney. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for the call, because I think I'm going to have to look closer at that, because it's particularly interesting because the Chiefs essentially have an entire roster built out of slot receivers. Not actually, but like you've seen the MVS and Justin Watson snaps took a long time to eat into because the Chiefs didn't seem to want to put any of those other dudes on the outside. If Kadarius Toney's skill set, you hunt some one-on-ones, the idea that, hey, when you're worrying about too much, maybe that's when Kadarius Toney kind of short circuits. I'm intrigued by that. That's an interesting one, Rodney, that I wonder if we'll see any difference on it. I'm going to have to look more into. So I appreciate that slant on it because I'd love to find a way you could use Kadarius Toney in a way that's less destructive. We will, okay, let's hold tight here for just a second to make sure. We'll either take a couple calls, take a break, or hear from a player at Arrowhead, or excuse me, in Foxborough. No major injury news today. It looks like Sky Moore left the game with knee, I believe I saw knee swelling. We'll hear from Andy Reid a little bit later on. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes at some point, and then presumably somebody else at the podium there in Foxborough. Dylan, you seeing any action around there at all? Let's go ahead and sneak in Dan here real quick. Dan, you're on 810. How you doing, bud?
Hey, Joshua, how you doing? Great win by the Chiefs today. Yeah, everybody, offense did just enough to win. Touchdown by McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire, and who else? Trying to think who else. Yeah, Rashid Rice. And I was joking around with my roommate. Come on, Kadarius Toney. That's an easy throw, easy catch to make. I'm not getting frustrated, but come on, you gotta make that catch. And I was going to ask you, Joshua, how about sending him on the punt coverage? He broke one in the Super Bowl, and now I'm not giving up on him being a wide receiver. He's got a lot of talent there. So let's take care of the Raiders. And how about 9 straight AFC West? Is that right, Joshua? 9 straight AFC West titles?
Yeah, they're moving into that direction, Dan. I'm going to have to take you off there to go to Foxborough because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is at the podium.
For the touchdown on the inside, then I think 5 ended up coming down. So then after that, I kind of knew who was on the outside, and he was going to really just try to stay at the pylon. So my goal was to try to get the back of the end zone. From that point, I kind of knew Pat was going to roll my way since I was the hot answer. From that point, it's kind of just – I told him last week he gave me an opportunity on the sideline on the belly route, and that's just something like I rarely drop passes, and it was just one of those things that it was a bitter taste in my mouth. So I just told him, like, even when I got the opportunity last week, opportunities this week at practice, like, you throw the ball up, bro, I promise I'm going to come down with it, no matter the situation.
And along those lines, from a bigger sense, what's it just feel like to have a game like this after a while of not getting as many opportunities?
Man, it's just one of those things, the NFL. Everybody kind of will have their own story or have their own say-so about it, but, I'm Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then I write my own narrative, I write my own story. So, I let everybody else handle whatever they want to write and use whatever they want to use, and then I kind of just showcasing myself and write my story by my body and my play. No, not at all. Not at all. It's, jokingly, we've been kind of making little remarks about me and about height and jumping and everything. So every time I scored past couple of weeks, I've been dunking the goalposts, and it was just one of those things. Like, everybody like, well, damn, you're getting higher and higher every day. So I think it was just kind of a thing in back of everyone's head. Like, well, damn, Clyde can really jump. Like, so for Pat having that opportunity, it was more of just like, he's not just some small guy on the field. In the wise words of Coach O, 6'7", 270. So we roll like that, and that's just what it is. As for I really just was able to take a step back and just realize what's business and the things that I can control. Those are the things that I control. And it's just simple as that. I knew once I was able to get my opportunity, showcase the things that I know I need to showcase. That's just what it is. I go out there, play my game, never batted an eye. Knew at some point the opportunity was going to show up again, and it's a matter of how you conquer that opportunity and take advantage of it. What you say? It means everything. It's really the trust factor that I would say. It's the end of the year. We're trying to go on this push, and we could have went. Coach Reid, Veach could have went any direction that they wanted to, but just I would say I kind of kept my head down, but always brought the energy when I needed to. Always showed up for practice. Always did the things whenever my number was called, even if it was just having enthusiasm in meeting rooms. For everybody else, I might have went incognito, but if I would have left, the team and everybody else would have felt it.
Last two. You I went to opportunity, and they're saying stay ready so you don't have to get ready. mention your story. How does that fit into?
Man, I would say you can say I'll always stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. But it was more of kind of just realizing what everything is around you, and really just being, an athlete, but not only just being a person and realize like, okay, everybody has their own way of life, and this is a sport. Don't get it wrong, but I need to make sure my mental on right before I do anything else. So I was able to do a lot of things. I mean, I got engaged. I had the whole 9 yards. Just when everybody felt like Clyde might be in the dumps, I was probably on my highest horse. And that's just one of those things. You take whatever is the light in a situation, and you brighten it up. And then now it's just everybody's just talking about the opportunity, but the opportunity was getting drafted, and being able to be in this position. So I always had the opportunity, but they just kind of marking it up for me. Let's do it.
That's Clyde Edwards-Helaire live from Foxborough here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. 4 catches for 64 yards and the touchdown, plus 13 carries for 37 on the ground. We're going to give him the green light, brought to you by Green Light Dispensary. Green Light Dispensary, outstanding customer service, superior product, and continuously voted Missouri's best. Open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Find a location near you today at greenlightdispensary.com. Good stuff from Clyde Edwards-Helaire right there. We'll hear from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes later on, but Clyde's appearance is our locker room report presented by Twin Peaks.
The Chiefs Locker Room Report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
We'll take a timeout here in just a second, but first, Frazier has been hanging online here for a little bit. So, Frazier, before we take a timeout, let's hear from you. How you feeling, sir? Frazier, we got you? All right, sounds like he's on mute. Dylan, check your buttons over there. Keep him potted up. We're gonna give him a nice, maybe a 10 count or so.
The runway is his.
The runway is yours. The play clock is ticking. Frazier Crane. Frasier the reboot on whichever streaming service is rebooting Frasier. It's a noon game, so I don't think this is going to be a caller fell asleep situation. May just be you walked away from your phone during the press conference before the buzzer. Frasier, 3, 2, Frasier? Oh, maybe we still got 10 more seconds? I'm not going to say your name 10 more times. Gone, Frazier. Sorry about it. If you get a call back in, maybe Dylan will sneak you through to the fast lane. But in the meantime, we'll take a timeout here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. Joshua Brisco, Dylan Michaels, Covell Hudson bringing you the magic today. The Chiefs victorious over the New England Patriots in a 27-17 victory that has some negatives packed in. We'll unpack more of those as we go here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
2nd and goal. Mahomes, first read taken away, back in the end zone. Edwards-Helaire! Touchdown, Kansas City! 5-7 climbs the ladder for his first receiving touchdown of the year. Mahomes threw that thing up, Edwards for Kelsey. And it's 23-10.
Some of these adjustments, I don't know how you defend them, because prior to that great catch right there by Clyde Edwards-Helaire is kind of an option route. And Jelani Tavai is there, and I think it's Juwan Belly, the other inside linebacker, is there, and they drift behind, and they throw it up. It's like one of those things that you're coached not to do.
Truly, then, Mahomes magic. That's our Mahomes magic moment, brought to you by Champion Heating and Cooling. Keep your family warm this winter with their Champion Premium Furnace. Find your local Champion dealer at championhomecomfort.com. And don't forget to ask about their free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Always leading, never compromising, championhomecomfort.com. Clyde Edwards-Helaire jumped about one Clyde Edwards-Helaire there to make that play. It really was stupendous to see him climb the ladder. And as I believe Harold Kuntz of Fox 4 tweeted, Clyde Edwards-Air, A-I-R. It works better in the written form because it's a pretty good play on words, but it just sounds like I'm saying his name if you don't actually see it. I called him Clyde Edwards-Eclair last week because it seems like he's bulked up a little bit. He's shown good burst in the short yardage game, and you heard good stuff from him in his post-game availability, talking about, when it seemed like he may have been kind of down and out or maybe at his lowest, he may have actually been at his best. He may have actually been at his highest. And to see him be ready to take that opportunity today was great, because between him and Jerick McKinnon, I guess technically running back / quarterback Jerick McKinnon, 4-yard touchdown pass is what it goes down in the books as, although it didn't quite look that way. I didn't even realize until just a second ago that I guess Joe Thuney snapped the football there. Totally missed that in real time. I just thought Mahomes had slid over to get into his little fullback three-point stance. Fun to see the Chiefs doing fun things. That play was kind of scary because Rashee Rice kind of caught it on his hip. But because of the play design, if Rashee Rice drops or fumbles that ball there, it's just an incompletion. So things would have been okay ultimately. But tricky stuff that in that case worked, and the Chiefs ended up with 27 points on the day, with certainly some assisting from the Patriots offense. And look, going back kind of through my notes on the callers from our hefty first segment, and then we'll take a break, we'll come back, we'll hear from Andy Reid and keep the trains moving here. But a lot of the stuff that everybody talked about is stuff that I more or less was expecting coming into this post-game show, and I don't like to do a show after a win that is indiscernible from a show after a loss. I don't think we're quite in that space right now because it is so evident that the Chiefs needed a victory. A losing post-game show to the Patriots, I promise, would have sounded much, much, much worse and very, very different for not good reasons. Ultimately, again, I think I'm completely riding and dying with this Chiefs defense, even though I do think, as we've discussed a little bit, you've got some not great moments from the middle of the defense, kind of all the way through. I do think that somebody mentioned earlier, I think Gary mentioned earlier, the defensive tackle room is kind of Chris Jones and company, and that is not ideal. The edge rushers weren't making a lot of noise. There were a couple of nice Karlaftis reps. You heard Minahu's name a couple of times, but not exactly the take over and go knock Bailey Zappi off his spot kind of reps you'd like to see from your edges. You want to be able to pressure without having to bring exotic looks, but I think Spags was plenty happy to bring some pressures to Bailey Zappi to test how he was going to handle them, and ultimately he didn't handle them very well. The Chiefs were able to dial up what they needed there. Again, this was a 10-point defensive performance, really, when you take away the turnovers and the way that they set up the defense the way they did. The Patriots had one long defensive run. Excuse me. Almost everything I said there was not what I meant to say. The Patriots had a long offensive drive that resulted in the Chiefs defense genuinely giving up one touchdown, and then they held them to a field goal even in great field position, but then they also got a missed field goal from the Patriots as well. So I would say that you could really put 7, maybe 10 points on the Chiefs defensive plate for what they gave up against New England today. It's not a good offense, but that's not a good offensive outing, so I'm happy to chalk that up, even while it felt like Hunter Henry might be the best pass catcher in football. Even that died down a little bit later on. I guess he did go off injured at one point, but ultimately, I'll take that outing from the Chiefs defense 100 out of 100 times. Offensively, it's just seeing those same mistakes that make you wonder if those mistakes are going to get cleaned up. I wonder what Andy Reid had to say about the cleanliness of this team, or maybe just being off a tick, maybe penalties and turnovers and the self-inflicted mistakes. That's been the calling card of this team going back to week 1. And watching Kadarius Toney take a pass that should have been a completion and turning it into an interception was a little too familiar for me. We'll take a timeout here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. We'll come back and we'll hear from Andy Reid, what he had to say following the Chiefs' 10-point win in Foxborough. Head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll hear from him next.
They struggled after the break. Looks to throw. On the move, he's in trouble, and he throws an interception right into the hands of Willie Gay. Different game, same story for Zappi. Out of the halftime break, different guy gets intercepted, and the Chiefs have it on the doorstep.
That was a heck of a play by Willie Gay, and it's our defensive play of the game, brought to you by Schlegel Fence. Schlegel Fence, as Kansas City's preferred fence company, has been serving the KC metro areas for over a decade, offering security and style. Call 816-863-6159 or go to schlegelfence.com for your free estimate. That's schlegelfence.com. And look, they're going to give you just as good a performance as the Chiefs' defense. There's a couple pretty good fences around the Kansas City area. You'll take the 17 points allowed by the defense, especially when you note the fact that they gave up one of those touchdowns and one of those field goals deep in their own territory after the Chiefs gave New England good field position via the turnovers. And turnovers, penalties, self-inflicted wounds, those have all been very familiar talking points for Chiefs head coach Andy Reid. We'll hear from him in a moment as his post-game press conference is brought to you by Robert Brogdon's Olathe Buick GMC and Olathe Kia. Get a worry-free money-back guarantee on new vehicles when you buy from Brogdon. Visit BrogdonAutomotive.com. Also brought to you by Westlake Commercial, a division of Westlake Ace Hardware. They're your local business-to-business supply partner. Their commercial team, dedicated business-to-business website, credit terms, and convenient store locations make it easy. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware store or westlakehardware.com/commercial today. All right, let's hear it from the top here as Andy Reid speaks after a Chiefs win for the first time in a few weeks, 27-17, the final. Here's Andy Reid's opening statement and the injury update from the head man.
All right. As far as injuries go, really, Sky Moore is the one that had to leave the game, and that's he hurt his left knee, just swelled up a little bit. All in all, a good win to get. We had some good things that took place. I'm gonna start, which I never do, with special teams. So I'm putting it out there. Tommy's punt at the end was a beautiful thing, and came at a good time. Pat's day, over 300 yards, and a couple TDs, made some beautiful throws, and the turnovers look like it null, but we got to make sure that we hang on to that football, and we're getting better at that. We just got to keep growing there as we go. Clyde stepping up and doing a nice job, over 100 yards there between receiving and running. Big catch on the touchdown, and brought a lot of energy to that sideline. And then defensively, start off just a bit, but man, we picked it up, and pass rush came home with some big plays, and then Willie's pick was a beautiful thing too. So all in all, good win to get. I mean, this is a team that is so close. This Patriot team is so close. Their number of losses against one score is crazy. Number one in the league there, and that defense, Steve and his crew, they've done a nice job with that defense. They're salty, and offensively they had a nice plan there coming out. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
Few things there in the open. One, by talking about the interceptions and saying we got to hold on to the football. That sounds to me like he's probably blaming both of those interceptions on Bell and Tony, as opposed to either of those being on Mahomes. The Tony one was obvious. The Bell one you could probably, again, say maybe wasn't a great decision, but it is what it is. And over 300 for Mahomes. The punt at the end was great. Tommy Townsend was not having a great day leading into that, but that punt and then the downing from Echo Boydo. The K-State product was fantastic. Got to keep growing in terms of hanging on to the football, and they're getting better at it. I mean, when you have, again, just reading between the lines there, hearing what Andy Reid's saying, I think he's saying there were 2 turnovers that were because of dropped what should have been catches. That doesn't necessarily feel like getting better or particularly growing, but I digress. Also, just kind of funny. He's just doing a nice coach speaky thing. But when he says, "Oh, the Patriots, they're just so close," does that make you feel any different from the times you've heard Andy Reid say the Chiefs are so close? Because I've heard Andy Reid say the Chiefs are so close to like figuring everything out. It's like, all right, I bet they are. If he's saying the Patriots are close, I mean, everybody's close then, right? Next up for Andy Reid here. A few questions. He talks later on about both Willie Gay and Nick Bolton and their games today. But first, the real importance to this game for the Chiefs.
Well, listen, when you're as close as the AFC is right now, wins are hard to get, and you better enjoy each one, and they're very important. And so this one, no different than that because of the situation. And I like the way some of the guys approach this thing, and my leaders stepped up and did a nice job. And I mentioned Spags and Nags on the offensive side, Dave Tobe. Their leadership was important at this time, and they did a good job with it.
Coach, you talked about the approach. Talking to Nick Bolton after the game, he said this was the message coming in today was win by any means necessary. Was there a different approach this week?
Yeah, well. They felt the question Sam asked, and they know, players know. And so Nick's a big part of that, his ability to get in there. He's kind of playing with one wing there. So it's tough for him to grab, but he made some nice tackles today.
You mentioned the Willie Gay interception. Just been tough to come up with that great takeaway. Just talk about the report.
Yeah. So he was so close on the one that was a touchdown. The tight end, he was so close on that thing, and so he got a little bit deeper there and was in good position. A little different route, but he did a nice job with it. Well, he's one of your better athletes on this football team. I mean, he's got great hands and great speed. And you guys have watched him here since we've drafted him.
Yeah, he's an incredible athlete and close early on, and now gets the pick later. A good effort there from Willie Gay. And next here from Andy Reid, again, you will hear him toward the end of this clip be asked about Kadarius Toney, about Bill Belichick, and then first and foremost here, a few questions all in a row about the day of Clyde Edwards-Helaire and his level of confidence in this game.
No, not at all. He's been an energy giver, which you need. Yeah. Well, smile on the face and comes to work every day trying to get better. And he doesn't ever complain. He just goes out. If you give him 2 snaps, he'll take the 2 and make it the best he can. If you give him 30, 40 snaps, he's going to do great there too. So, well, I just said don't ever question little guys.
With Clyde, it seemed like you were able to use him a little more, maybe the way that we've all envisioned when he first came out, just more in passing. What's the key to that?
Yeah, well, he's a good route runner. He's got good hands. So he had opportunities today and did a nice job with it.
Thank you. When you get to New England, you're defending 2 teams and you're kind of at the top league. Is there ever a moment where you marvel at how long this franchise was built to stay at the top? And is there part of you that really ever appreciates just how difficult that is?
Oh, he's done an unbelievable job, best in the business ever. I mean, that's what you're talking about. So, yeah, I don't question it. I mean, I know how great he is, and I've got to deal with him by playing against him. So nobody better. Not that I've gone against. Nobody better.
Andy, I know I asked you this the other day, but in light of today's developments, any plans to sit Toney, take him out of the lineup for a little while until things turn around with him?
Yeah, we'll see how things go. I'm not down on Toney. He does some good things, man. So we just got to keep. He's a young guy, Adam. So we're not talking about somebody that has been in this league a long time.
That's an interesting answer on a totally fair question from Adam Teicher that Andy Reid knows is a totally fair question. You can hear his post-game demeanor very different than last week's. I don't know what they should do with Kadarius Toney. I don't know. What I do hear there is he says he's a young receiver, still is a young guy. And that's, true, certainly by Andy Reid standards. But also, the only guy that's definitely not true in the wide receiver group is MVS. And you did see MVS's snap share dip. I don't know where he ended up today. I think he had, that one catch for 17 or something. Yep, 1 for 17 on one target today. So I don't know where MVS's target or where his snap count went today, but it had been declining finally. And when Andy Reid says, hey, I'm going to give the young guy the benefit of the doubt because Tony is still working on some stuff and still has a ceiling to reach, I think that it's more justified for Tony than it would have been making that argument for MVS or some of the other guys here. That's the frustrating thing, is that he's just a little too hard for me to quit. Particularly with this team, too, right? With this Chiefs team, with these issues at wide receiver, I would hear your argument if you said, hey, just put Richie James out there, never throw him the ball, and his nothing will be better than Kadarius Toney's ups and downs, because the downs have outweighed the ups. I think saying that Kadarius Toney's downs have outweighed his ups this year is a fair statement to make. I also think that if we were going to rank Chiefs wide receivers who had a chance to make a big play in the AFC Championship game to send him to the Super Bowl this year, I would draft Rashee Rice number 1 in that ranking, and Kadarius Toney would be second. Justin Watson might have a nice catch in a toe drag. MVS may get another deep shot somewhere, but if you're going to tell me that a wide receiver makes a play, not Patrick Mahomes just putting the ball exactly where it needs to be and taking what's exactly there from a defense, but if you say a wide receiver gets more out of an opportunity than is obvious to him, I'll bet on Rashee Rice first. Even with his drops and his fumbles, we're seeing more payoff there. But he, of course, is still... if you're going to say, hey, a Chiefs receiver has a back-breaking mistake that keeps you from going to the Super Bowl, Kadarius Toney would be my first guy off that list. And then Rashee Rice and MVS probably fight for second, because they both had big mistakes at different times. Way more frustrated with the long term of MVS's, and Rashee Rice I'm still really bullish on, so that it's easy in terms of like down usage. But look, I would take Kadarius Toney off the field if I had an offense that was a bunch of like reliable but unspectacular guys. I wouldn't be telling you to play Kadarius Toney over Juju Smith-Schuster. I wouldn't be telling you to play Kadarius Toney over good, competent receivers with like a steady hand. But in a group where it is just your options are either below average, plodding receivers who are not creating separation, or one of those guys at a time is the roller coaster ride that is the Kadarius Toney experience, it's really, really, really hard for me to put away the mystery box of, well, what could Kadarius Toney do today? I'm not ignorant to what the experience is like. I'm not unaware of the fact that this is a dangerous roller coaster that has not been inspected in a very long time. It was built in the early 80s. I get it. I just also don't love the alternatives. So I understand where Andy Reid is coming from, just as I understand how absolutely fuming mad some Chiefs fans are listening to me right now talk about the fact that I'd still rather see Kadarius Toney out there than some of the other dudes the Chiefs have been running out. It's not because I'm a super optimist. I think the optimism has faded. But if you give me the coin flip on big play or mistake come playoff time with an offense that needs a spark, I guess I'd go there. I mean, hell, what's a target to Blake Bell giving you? The payoff to mistake math there is worse than Toney's. Anyway, I digress. Last chunk here from Andy Reid. He ends talking about Echo Boydo's special teams play, Travis Kelce's elbow. We saw that in real time. That was scary, but ultimately looks like it was going to be okay. And then also first here asked about the decision to not try to score at the very end of the game, and that maybe being a little bit of respect for the opposing coach on the other sideline.
Yeah, I mean, it was the right thing to do. Yeah.
Well, several fans in my school organization said this was their first NFL game, and a big part of it was that now Chiefs fans because of the relationship. Would you just talk a little bit about the Taylor Swift impact on the team?
Taylor Swift. Yeah, listen, I'm a big fan, so I'm glad she was here, and I hope she enjoyed it. So she's got a great guy. She's dating right now, so I'm happy for both of them. Yeah, he got a little stinger in there and came out for a bit, but he went back in. Yeah. Yeah, not good. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. That was close now. I saw him control his. First of all, he's real fast, but control his speed to be able to put it down, and then his balance of not falling in. When you're that fast, that can be a tough. I've never been that fast, but I know it's tough to control.
Last one, Sam. Some leaders throughout the just wondering what you saw from Patrick throughout the week.
Yeah, no, he's been great. He make sure practices are tempoed up and going. And I've told you before, every time he comes in the huddle, let's be great. And that's what he strives to do himself, and that's what he wants people around him to do.
There you have it, the standard right now for Andy Reid, for Patrick Mahomes, for everybody with the Chiefs. That's the head coach as the Chiefs win 27-17. We'll take a timeout and hear from the other side of the leadership there in Kansas City. Chiefs victorious over the Patriots. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes when we come back on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show.
touchdown with a touchdown catch, and the Chiefs are back in front.
They made that one look easy right there. You just got the leverage immediately on your release. We saw the interception by Marte Mapu earlier. He just get kind of caught up there with the release by Justin Watson. So a nice play design by Matt Nagy right there.
You know, I don't know who drew that play up. I'm not necessarily going to give the credit to just one person in the offense, but a heck of a play there. And our play of the game brought to you by Central Bank of the Midwest. At Central Bank of the Midwest, every customer is a first-round draft pick. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities, member FDIC. Still to come in today's edition of the Sports Radio 810 Postgame Show. We'll talk to Matt, Derrick, and hear from Patrick Mahomes. We're going to go ahead and take a quick segment with you here before we hear from Mahomes next, and then Matt after that. Then we will bring you a good chunk, if we're keeping time right now. We're doing well in terms of breaking this game down in time to bring you some of Bills and Cowboys. Right now, a 14-point lead for Buffalo. It feels like every time I look up, Dallas is either losing a player or narrowly avoiding a touchdown or taking a sack. So I will be curious to see where this game ends up by halftime. 14-3. I missed the field goal the Cowboys just kicked. So 14-3 right now in Buffalo, as Chiefs fans get the rare opportunity to root for the football team in the city that their team began in. The Dallas Cowboys could do formerly the Dallas Texans a little bit of a favor. Not that the Chiefs needed to jump the Bills in the standings, but in the way the AFC shakes out right now, this game certainly has major implications on both sides of the conference line. Also right now, it looks like the Niners are knocking on the door of another score in Arizona, but only up 14-13 with 2 minutes left in that NFC West showdown, as the Niners have been playing some borderline immaculate football. Looking like a tight one there in Arizona, but again, a chance to score here momentarily, and it looks like they may have done that on fourth down there. We'll keep an eye on it. The Rams up on Washington, 13-0 at the half. Again, the Bills 14-3 on Dallas. And then after the conclusion of that game here on your home for the NFL, we'll bring you Ravens-Jaguars, a game that does have a lot of direct notes in terms of where the Chiefs stand now. So in the playoff picture, the Ravens at 10-3 sit alone in the number 1 seed spot. And look, for all of the ups and downs of this Chiefs season, for all the frustrations and the weaknesses that they have, they've still got 3 games left against non-playoff teams, and they still have an outside shot to get the 1 seed. But it would be very helpful if Baltimore could stumble a couple of times and certainly allow the Jags to get them here in Jacksonville tonight. The Jags at 8-5, because my parents were asking me this morning, all right, so who should we be rooting for in terms of Sunday Night Football tonight? Root for Jacksonville. Here's why. The Chiefs already have the tiebreaker over the Jags, and as we stand right now, with the Chiefs obviously having played their game and gotten the win there, they're 9-5. The Jags with a win would also be 9-5, but the Chiefs would maintain their spot over Jacksonville because of the head-to-head win earlier in the year. The Dolphins are 10-4, and right now the Ravens are 10-3. If the Ravens win again, they get to 11-3, and they still have the harder end of the season. But Jacksonville tonight really has a chance to do good things there on the Chiefs' behalf, as the Ravens will end the year with Jacksonville, San Francisco, Miami, and Pittsburgh. Again, Baltimore has 3 legit chances to lose some ground. But the Chiefs need to win out, end the year 12-5, and if they tie the Ravens, Dolphins, or Jaguars, the Chiefs would have the tiebreaker. The Chiefs have a better record in the conference. They have a better record as things stands right now in their division. But most importantly, they have the AFC tiebreaker over the Ravens. They have the head-to-head tiebreakers over the Dolphins and Jags. So go ahead and root for Jacksonville, and for the most part, root for Miami. You're going to need them to lose at least 1 game somewhere along the line. But pull for Jacksonville tonight when they host Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. And again, listen, man, I have some pretty formative sports memories of celebrating the way the Chiefs backed into the playoffs, much less backing into the 1 seed. Any way they could get a first-round bye and home field advantage would be great, even if it doesn't ultimately change. I know there's a lot of hopeless Chiefs fans at this point who have already decided, first-round bye, then they'll just lose in the second round. We'll get there when we get there, but I promise you it's better for everybody in Kansas City if the Chiefs don't have to play that first round, and the Jags tonight could give them a little bit of a hand in that effort. We'll take a time out here. When we come back, we will hear from Patrick Mahomes as the Chiefs quarterback spoke to the media following a win over the Patriots, but also a game where he had a couple of passes that he'd like to have back, perhaps because of the guys he threw the ball to, less than the actual throws themselves. Clearly frustrated on the sidelines. We'll hear where Mahomes is at with the Chiefs offense as they almost hit 30 against New England. Certainly could have tried for the touchdown or kicked the field goal at the end, and none of that's really the point. The point is, what is this offense in its usual state? And right now it's still an offense with some mistakes, but also with some high points. We'll hear Patrick Mahomes talk about both sides of that coin when we come back on the Sports Radio 810 WHP Postgame Show.
the 24-yard line. Over the middle, Tony juggles, and it's picked by Jelani Tavai. And now Tavai throws it away. What is he doing? Out of bounds. Patriots maintain possession. And the latest Kadarius Toney mistake turns into a turnover.
You got to make the catch. I mean, it's perfectly placed. And
rolling on the field is a fumble recovered by the defense. Illegal use of hands to the face. Offense number 64. This penalty's declined. It's first down.
Can you guess what that one was? Shout out to our friends at We Buy Ugly Houses for giving us something usually as fun as the ugly play of the game, which is what you just heard right there. But that might be the ugliest play we've ever had. We've had some opportunities to meet and match that goal. We've had Kadarius Toney often providing the ugly play of the game. But that's the one today, brought to you by We Buy Ugly Houses. Owning a house can be a problem, an ugly problem. Repairs, taxes, mowing the yard. Let We Buy Ugly Houses be the solution. Call 1-800-44-BUYER or go to WeBuyUglyHouses.com. If you could find anyone to help you out of your ugly wide receiver situation, maybe call 1-800-15 Maho. I ran out. I shouldn't have added the 15. 1-800-MAHOMES. That would work. Yeah, there you go. If you've got an ugly house, call 1-800-44-BUYER. If you've got an ugly receiver situation, call 1-800-Mahomes. Maybe see if you can turn some of that into cash. Because we will hear from Patrick Mahomes here in just a second. A lot of good stuff from the Chiefs offense, a lot of fun things like the Jerick McKinnon passing touchdown that we'll play for you here in a little bit as well. Also, some downs. Although I don't know if he is directly asked about sort of the frustration on the sideline. We'll have to hear and see. I don't know. I don't see that in the question. So we'll all find out together what Mahomes was asked about and how he answered, as the quarterback's press conference is brought to you by Kansas City Area Acura dealers. Every week I try to say area and Acura all in one word. That's your Kansas City Area Acura dealers. Appreciate them for all they do. As our hometown team in red marches through another epic year, visit your Kansas City Area Acura dealers to score jaw-dropping deals on new and pre-owned Acura models. Plus, get overpaid for your trade. Shop your Kansas City Area Acura dealers. Let's start from the top with number 15. You'll eventually hear some questions about the importance of the win and the pressure coming into this game, the energy all together. But first, Mahomes asked here about the team's focus during the week.
Yeah, no, I think I'm always in this focus when I'm playing against Coach Belichick, because I know how many different schemes he's gonna put out there and how great of a coach he is. Obviously, trying to focus on the details as much as possible, and you want to get as many tells as you can. But in an important game, we needed to win, and so I was glad with how the guys responded, and we were able to find a way to win against a really good team.
It's just the importance of this one, especially coming off the passing.
Yeah, I mean, just with Denver, being right there behind us and losing 2 straight games, it's just finding a way to get that momentum back in our favor. And obviously, I don't think offensively we ended the way we wanted to. But I thought we did a good job that last drive of burning some time off the clock. And so you got to learn from the mistakes, keep doing it, keep getting better, and try to be playing our best ball going into the playoffs.
Did you feel pressure coming into this game? You talked about 2 losses coming in. Do you feel like you're going to thrive better under pressure like this, knowing that you have to win?
There's always pressure, but obviously losing 2 games, you have to play your best football. Losing 3 straight in this league, really puts you in a tough spot. And I thought the guys did a good job. That's a really good defense. Offensive, we scored points early. Defense shut the door, kind of like they've been doing these last few weeks. But we have to continue to get better and better. And we're playing the Raiders. We're playing great football coming up, so we have to continue to learn and improve.
Patrick, your message when you guys are coming out for warm-ups was energy from the start.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that been a problem the last couple of weeks, on offense at least? And how do you feel that you guys responded today?
Yeah, we kind of went in waves. We started off for a middle part of the season, we were scoring fast and not scoring in the second half. And then we started scoring in the second half and we weren't scoring early. And so you have to find a way to put games together. And when you play a 12 o'clock game or a 1 o'clock game here, we haven't had a lot of them this season. The last one was Jacksonville, and offensively we didn't start the way we wanted to. And so I think that was the message all week is we got to get this thing rolling early. We want to put the pressure on them and not them put the pressure on us. I thought guys did a good job of it.
Yeah, I mean that all sounds kind of par for the course, and to be terribly honest, not a lot of new stuff there. It's a win to stop a winning skid and an opponent they needed to beat. So we'll hear the next thing from Mahomes. Again, he eventually gets to the trick play, touchdown, and the rhythm of the team altogether. But first, he's asked, when was the last time he was in a 3-point stance?
Maybe like the Combine 40, and I don't know if you could call it that. I haven't been in one in a long time, but that was sweet. We've been working on that play for a while, and so I'm glad that it worked. It was a little dicey there for a second, but we got it in the end zone.
Well, how much do you feel like you guys needed a play like that? Because you guys are known for doing some creative stuff in the red zone.
No, that play was awesome. I mean, obviously, that's a hard team to score on in the red zone, one of the best. And so to have a play like that we had worked on a long time, and it worked. Obviously, it was working perfectly for their scheme. And we executed at a high level. Coach Reid believing that we could make it work. And I will take that. I was the one that said Joe should snap it. Because I was like, that will mess them up if Creed and Joe switch spots. And they kind of pushed the D-line a little over, thinking that Creed was the center. So I didn't make the play up, but I did that part.
How would you describe the rhythm of this team, especially with your rapport with the receivers?
Yeah, I mean, we've had great spots, and we've had spots where we struggled. I mean, it's just something that we continue to work on. I thought that for the most part we did a great job. They made plays happen today. I mean, obviously, they were going to focus on Travis a lot, and they did. And so for other guys to make plays happen against a lot of good DBs, I was proud of that. I mean, we just got to continue to make it a full game. I think that's the biggest thing is we started, and I thought we did good in the second half, starting the game, and then we kind of had some miscues here and there at the end, and that includes myself. And so just trying to continue to have a full game of just excellent football is something that we'll continue to strive for.
A couple more guys.
Yeah, I mean, stacking plays in games like that is where this team needs to be. Again, getting rid of the mistakes, more of them not on Mahomes than on him, as he mentions there. We'll hear him talk about Clyde, the Willie Gay pick, and what the defense did altogether. But here in this next chunk, he's asked if there are any other big plays that stood out to him.
From the first few, I think that third down and long when Rasheed kind of settled in that zone, that was a big play and a big situation right at midfield. We were able to get points on that drive. But, I mean, I think guys just continue to play hard. Justin Watts with a big catch down the sideline. And then jump ball Clyde, man. Just giving them the chance to go make a play and him going and catching a touchdown.
Last two, Blair and Bahe.
Thinking about Willie Gay's interception, could you speak generally about how well the defense has played while you guys are still trying to get things going on offense?
Yeah, no, they've played great. I think the biggest thing is you see how they can make adjustments in game. They adjust to what the defense is doing, and the offense is doing, and then they do a good job of stopping that. That takes a special group of guys. I mean, to have a game plan, and when the game plan's working, they dominate, and then when the game plan is a little off or they come out with a little different stuff, they're able to change the game plan right there, and Spags does a great job of that. Gets the information to those guys, and they go out there and do a great job of getting those stops. I mean, that's special, man. I've said it a couple times. I wouldn't want to play our defense because they're able to change and be great at a lot of different things.
Last two, Bahe and Adam.
Patrick, with jump ball Clyde, I wonder if you could speak to his day today, but also how maybe it reflects the attitude he has all the time, as Andy calls him, the energy giver.
Yeah, no, I mean that running back room, man, is special. I mean, all those guys. I mean, even the guys that bounce back and forth from the practice squad and back to active, they all believe in each other and they want each other to succeed, and that's special. I mean, it really is. I mean, everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to go out there and make stuff happen. And obviously, Pacheco's had a great year, and so we've been letting him work and get those carries. But Clyde's been ready the whole time, and when he's got his opportunities, he's made stuff happen. And so sometimes outside the building you get a bad rap, but we know the work that he puts in every single day. And whenever Pacheco had to take some time off, Clyde stepped right in and went out there and made plays happen.
Good stuff there about the defense and specifically the effort and the game of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Last couple questions here to Mahomes, both also about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the game he had today and how he's handled how the ups and downs of his career have gone so far.
I mean, I'm not joking. He's one of the best dudes I think I've ever met. I mean, just the attitude that he comes into the building with. I mean, he's always got a smile on his face. And he's always making other people smile. I mean, when you put him, Jet, and Pacheco together, I mean, that's literally – my locker, y'all know, is right there by the running backs, and you never know what you're going to hear. And it's the funniest stuff every single time.
Last one, Adam. Clyde's been through a lot in the last year, so I know you just sort of touched on this. But from your perspective, how How has he handled that? You ever seen him get down or anything like that?
I mean, when you get a lot of people piling on you and you don't have the success you want, I mean, you could be down, but I mean, like I said, he has a smile on his face. He comes to work every single day, and I think that's special about him. That's why we want him to succeed as much as everybody else and himself. It's because he has that workman, that ethic of just coming in and just putting in whatever he can to help the team. And today was a great day for him. Hopefully we get popped back and we're able to utilize everybody and go out there and be a better team for it.
Look, I mean, that running back room, I've now heard that from a number of Chiefs players talking about those three in particular, plus the practice squad guys. But those three guys in the running back room seem to have an absolutely incredible energy, and today they had to do it without their number one running back, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire able to step up in this circumstance and have a really nice game and an incredible highlight. No questions about him hollering GD a whole bunch of stuff on the sidelines after that Tony pick. Maybe we'll I mean, the people who you're hearing there are obviously all in the building, so maybe they hadn't seen the broadcast angle of Mahomes getting as frustrated as he did. Maybe we'll have to wait until Wednesday to hear Mahomes talk about that, so we'll see. But the Chiefs get the victory, so everybody's post-game press conference is in a better place than it was last week. Even with the picks, even with some similar mistakes, the Chiefs are victorious 27-17. You know, Patrick Mahomes said that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is just one of the best guys he's ever been around. Speaking of, we'll be joined by our friend Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest coming up next in the Sports Radio 810 WHP Postgame Show.
interesting look here. Direct snap to McKinnon, and it's Rice coming underneath. Touchdown. Andy Reid strikes right there, huh? Look at that nifty design, and Rice has the score.
Well, we asked him if he had something special, or are we just going to kind of get back to the old school and be traditional? And he's like, no, we got some of our unique plays down inside. I want to see Patrick Mahomes lead through, though, from that fullback position. But just a little underneath shovel right there to Rashee Rice. Just a great design. There's so much to think of. There's so many playmakers out there.
And Derrick McKinnon's got himself an NFL touchdown pass.
What can he not do? That play was sweet. Andy's sweet play, in fact. It's our sweet play of the game, brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Santa, Brownie, Jackhammers, and Sundays are back at Andy's Frozen Custard. Each Santa Brownie Jackhammer is a holiday miracle of vanilla frozen custard, chocolate brownies, and hot fudge down the middle. Now at Andy's Frozen Custard. Find the points however you can. You know, I like to see Patrick Mahomes throw touchdowns when available, but in that case, Derrick McKinnon is the one throwing a pass to Rashee Rice as he continues to break Chiefs rookie wide receiver records and keep this offense moving, because right now the rest of the pass catchers are a lot more of an unknown. Rashee Rice also, known to put the ball on the ground a couple of times. It's been up and down for a lot of members on this Chiefs offense. We'll talk about that now with the man who's never down. Always a pleasant ride. No roller coasters like Kadarius Toney. With Matt Derrick. He's of ChiefsDigest.com. You can hear him on the 41 is the Mike podcast with Nick Jacobs. And he's brought to you by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to CapOneLending.com. Matt, how you doing, sir?
Now I'm thinking about hot fudge down the middle on some Andy's custard. Yeah. That's all I can think about. And that's one thing I certainly would not drop if I got my hands on it.
No, I would make sure I was protecting that with my body / my life. And that is frequently really the only drawback of talking about Andy's is that I just makes me want custard, but I can't eat custard right now. I have to talk on the radio. But better to do it with you on the line. Let me ask you the question that I'm asking myself. I don't even think I've asked it out loud yet, but I don't know the answer for myself. This is not rhetorical. What did you learn about the Chiefs today?
Ooh, good question. I don't know that we actually did learn anything about the Chiefs today. I think that we learned that maybe they can get better. I mean, they were better today. There were still some mistakes. They were not perfect, and we're still kind of searching for that holy grail of a perfect Chiefs game in all three phases, and we still haven't seen it yet. I guess they moved forward in the right direction. I don't know. Once again, I mean, we're left with this team still needing to prove itself. I think they have proven themselves on defense, and this was, I think a really good performance. I'm not even looking at the 17 points because I think 10 of those points were on the offense.
Yep.
But defensively, this was a really good performance. That's the one thing that we continue to know about this Chiefs team. They can play some defense. Question's going to be, can they play some offense? And they at least showed some signs of that today.
Yeah, on the defensive side, it's not the challenge that Josh Allen brings, but I'm with you. I think 7, maybe 10 points you can kind of put on the defense, maybe in part because they missed the field goal. So you're like, they had given them a decent shot at a field goal, and they just kind of shanked it. But like this is a great outing defensively. On the offensive side, I have a hard time convincing myself that it's about the Chiefs' offense and not about the opponent. Now that the Patriots' defense is as bad as their offense, you get points up against a Bill Belichick defense. That's absolutely something. But what I asked at the beginning of the show is if you took this exact offensive performance and you put it up against the Bills again or another playoff team, what's the end result with this exact same day of offensive outing?
Yeah, I think that is a good question. And the only thing I do take away from it a little bit is that, the Patriots had been playing better defense of late. They had been pretty good since they had a couple of really stinkers in some back-to-back games. Yep. But I think over their last 4 games, they'd given up on average. I don't think they'd given up any more than 18 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were playing better football. So I get it. I mean, you're going to look at this and grade it on a curve and say, okay, well, if this was a 3-10 football team and all you did was make them 3-11, I get that. But, to me, I still think, you've got to look at going into New England and beating Bill Belichick in a game like that by 10 points and winning it comfortably. I think is still a big deal. I mean, even if it's not as big a deal as it used to be, I mean, I still think it matters more than a typical win like this against a comparable 3-10 team.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think it's not that the Blake Bell or Kadarius Toney interceptions were that Bill Belichick did something brilliant that Patrick Mahomes wasn't expecting and they got him. Like that's where I end up getting frustrated. And look, we've talked after every game this year. I continue to be enamored by the skill set of Kadarius Toney. I still think if you're going to tell me that there are two wide receivers who make big plays to send the Chiefs to the AFC Championship game, I would say, I bet it's Rashee Rice and then probably next Kadarius Toney. Now, of course, if you told me that a wide receiver was going to make a back-breaking issue that would cost them a trip to an AFC Championship game, I'd say, it's probably Kadarius Toney, but, could be MVS also. You've got some options there, and Rashee Rice has put the ball on the ground some too. So I do think absolutely there is merit to putting up 27 points that could have been more than that against the Patriots in Foxborough against the Bill Belichick defense. I absolutely believe that there's merit there. I also still see so many of those same mistakes off a tick. Got to clean those things up that I would feel foolish to truly try to talk myself into believing that that's about to change. Does that differentiation seem fair to you?
I think it does. I mean, and the thing is that I'm having kind of a struggle with and everything is that the Kadarius Toney of the last 2 years, I mean, doesn't look anything like Kadarius Toney as a rookie. And right. That's the disconnect for me because, and honestly, I mean, the Kadarius Toney that we've seen this year looks a lot like the Kadarius Toney that got booted from the Giants last year, and why they chased him out of town. Yeah. He played obviously very well for the Chiefs in a limited fashion, but in early 2022, I mean, the reason why he was available was because he was dropping footballs. He wasn't making plays. I mean. His numbers were not great, and and that's, I mean, his best stretch of his career really were those 9 games with the Chiefs, 7 games with the Chiefs last year, and then postseason games too. That's really the best stretch of his career. I mean, as far as just being an efficient player goes. So, at some point you have to look at the back of the football card and just acknowledge, what is the player, and I agree. I mean. There is nothing that's not tantalizing about Kadarius Toney and his athleticism and the things that he can do. But, have we ever seen him just take over a football game? Or have we seen him be consistent throughout an entire football game or for a stretch of football games? And the answer to that question is no. I mean, at this point, he has not been even, the back of the football card says he's not even Kadarius Toney, or he's not even Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Right. So at some point, you are what you appear to be, and I mean, I get why the Chiefs don't want to give up on him, and I would fully expect him to be back in Kansas City next year, but I also need to see a guy who gets better, and right now, I don't see a guy who's better than he has been the last couple of years.
Outside of the rookie, is anybody on this team better than they were last year at wide receiver?
That's an arguable question. I mean, I think, Justin Watts is starting to kind of look that way to me. I mean, we'll see where his numbers end up, and you can say that he was better than he was last year. He certainly seems to be at least a little more comfortable than this year. But, no, I mean, Sky Moore, I think you'd have to say, isn't significantly better than last year. And at some point, when you've got a situation like that where, you've got some guys that were back from last season who are here and don't look better, legitimate to ask questions about coaching and kind of what kind of coaching are the receivers getting, because Kadarius Rice. Yeah, I'm just making up receivers now.
I'd love to see Kadarius Rice on the field. Actually, that'd be great.
But Rashee Rice comes in, and right now is looking like their best receiver.
Yep.
But you know what? He wasn't there last year, so maybe they're telling you something right there.
Yeah, it's all bizarre, and I don't feel great about any of it. But we briefly talked about the defense, and I think I don't want to actually make them a non-story, because I think it's unfair to say that actually the defense just being continually excellent is a thing that makes them kind of less interesting to talk about. But so much of this game to me feels like a continuation of stuff we already knew. But what did you see from the defense? You got both Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill in the mix again, doing it without Brian Cook. In this case, today, doing it without Joshua Williams. Jalen Watson gets involved. What do you see from Spags in terms of where the pressure was coming from? What did you like? What did you not like so much in terms of the defensive performance?
I mean, to me, this was just, especially in the second half, was just an all-around positive performance. I mean, you saw them being able to get pressure with 4 consistently. I don't believe that there was an offensive holding call in this game, which probably tells you a lot about how the officials were calling this one. Because if they wanted to call offensive holding, they probably could have called it about 25 times on guys guarding Chris Jones.
Yeah.
That guy got absolutely mugged today. And the result was that with Chris Jones getting absolutely mugged, Derek Nottie gets a sack. Yep. They got a couple of sacks on blitzes, but they didn't have to blitz. I mean, they were getting those in some of the situations where they just like to go after the quarterback on third downs. But I thought the front 4 played really well, just consistently making Bailey Zappi uncomfortable, and he had to escape from the pocket quite a bit, and I don't think that was just young quarterback escaping. I think that was legitimately because he was consistently getting pressure. And, yeah, this is a banged-up and underachieving Patriots offensive line, but that's what you're supposed to do against offensive lines like that, and they did it. They also didn't let Ezekiel Elliott, beat them, and that was something I was concerned about since the Chiefs have been a little leaky against the ground at times. Patriots really never got the ground game established, and therefore, there was no threat with the play action, and that let them get really physical in the passing game. And, that was where L'Jarius Sneed really, shined today. Probably one of his more physical performances of the season, and that's fun to watch him when he gets into that mode. They gave up a couple of plays here and there, but by and large, a very sound performance for the most part. And I thought that, you mentioned getting Drew Tranquill and Nick Bolton back onto the field, even together at times. I think that's obviously when the Chiefs defense plays its best, when they've got both those guys reasonably healthy and on the field.
I got distracted by watching Dak Prescott take just an absolutely terrible sack out of this. The Bills might be good again, and I'm not thrilled about that development, but that can wait. We'll bring you the late third and certainly the fourth quarter of that game here on Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City, where we're currently talking to Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. He's brought to you by Cap One Lending. On the defensive side, again, before we hop back to one more story on the offensive side of the ball, any concern at all with what they were doing with Hunter Henry early on, especially, and the ways that the Patriots did try to attack the Chiefs? Again, no Brian Cook, and figuring out where the soft spots might be to pick at this Chiefs defense. Is there anywhere that you might be able to drum up something to keep an eye on, as the Chiefs defense is going to have 3 more games against quarterbacks who were not their team's number 1 quarterback when the season began?
Yeah, it's probably something you just circle a little bit. And you're right. I think you hit on the exact cause of what it is that when you don't have Brian Cook, you're deploying your defense a little bit differently, and your strengths and weaknesses are a little bit different. There's no doubt. I think you got to hope you get Brian Cook back for the playoffs, because he is a difference maker. But the zones that Buffalo was able to pick apart last week were not there this week. So I think that's a little bit of an improvement. I think you certainly circle a little bit about what Henry was able to do, and look at that on film this week and say, okay, here's a place to plug. But at the same time, that was something that, the Patriots hadn't really gone to a lot. I think it was a little bit of desperation, and maybe just the only guy out there that Bailey Zappi was trusting. So I don't know. It was a little out of character for the Patriots to lean so much on him. So maybe that was just a lot of it, because once, obviously he gets banged up, and wasn't really much of a factor in the second half. But I'm not too concerned, because I don't think that we've really seen, tight ends consistently beating the Chiefs that way.
Yeah, I think you're right. As long as it doesn't, like we talked about, doesn't become a thing. That way you can beat the Chiefs just without Brian Cook. But yes, I'm with you on that. And then back to the offensive side, Clyde Edwards-Helaire ends up leading the team in all-purpose yards today. Just gets, yards from scrimmage today. Gets just over 101 yards between his 37 on the ground and 64 in the air, plus that touchdown. The touchdown touchdown was truly spectacular and, in many ways, shocking. But with that being said, what did you not only see from Clyde today in Pacheco's absence, but a lot of the postgame conversation was about kind of the ups and downs of Clyde. Obviously, a first-round pick who has a pretty solid rookie season, eventually injuries and ups and downs. Pacheco takes a grown man's job, et cetera, et cetera. But he gets a chance to shine today and really did that, especially on the touchdown. What have you seen from Clyde throughout his time in Kansas City, being in the locker room as much as you have been, and then the payoff of that today?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very, very good payoff because Clyde has certainly bided his time. He's had to put up with a lot. I mean, not only just disappointment, but, I mean, I think some unfair criticism at times. I mean, you know, he had a really strong rookie season and certainly looked poised to build on that. And it's just been nothing but, you know, one injury after another since then. And, you know, we've talked about this before with other players and, you know, whether or not they deserve the tag of injury prone or just unlucky. I mean, you get an appendectomy at the wrong time of the year that goes badly like Clyde did. And, you know, yeah, I mean, that's bad luck. That's not injury prone. So, I mean, that's really been the last 2 years for him. And then, you know, Pacheco comes in and when Clyde's, you know, getting dinged up and plays really well and takes the job, I mean, that's not Clyde's fault that Pacheco played well. I mean, it was just he just had the bad fortune to get dinged up. But, you know, consistently, even back to Andy Reid with the infamous Clyde's in the best shape of his life during the offseason. I mean, the Chiefs have always said, I mean, that when Clyde plays, he does well. And he had been. He just had gotten very limited opportunities and not much of a chance to prove himself. He's had the last couple of weeks, and you've started to see rookie Clyde kind of pop back out there again. You know, it was the second best day he's ever had as a receiving. Back to his rookie season was, you know, the only other time he's had, you know, better days. I mean, this looked like rookie Clyde. So, hey, if you need to rest Pacheco a little bit more down the stretch with that shoulder, I don't think there's any reason not to continue to lean on Clyde. I mean, this is, for all intents and purposes, contract season for him. So I think you're going to get the best out of him, and I wouldn't be afraid. I mean, it's not like, you know, I mean, I can't really say that, you know, that Clyde's ever been a guy that's really lost you football games. I think he's been a guy that you can trust when he's healthy. And if he's healthy right now, take advantage of it.
I think that Ravens game week 2 a couple of years back, he had the fumble at the end. I remember being really furious about that, and I remember how furious I was about that. But in retrospect, it was in part because I didn't feel very good, and I didn't feel very good because I was dying. And so that I have a lot of just sort of seeing red memories from that game. That's the only, and I don't fear Clyde fumbling again, and I don't fear my blood sugar being like 900 during a postgame show again. So I feel like it's all gotten better from there.
Well, we would like that, and yeah, I mean that was kind of the one I know gets, you know, into the memory banks there and everything like that. But, you know, no one ever blamed, you know, Jamal Charles for the 3 fumbles against the Broncos that cost the Chiefs the game. I mean, it's really the only time you can really say is that Clyde had a bad moment, and even then, I mean, guy made a play. So, you know, I mean, it's Clyde has had, and I get, and part of it is that, you know, the Chiefs didn't do Clyde any favors, because when you take Clyde at the end of the first round and you don't wait more than 5 minutes before you utter the words Brian Westbrook and Clyde's name in the same sentence, you haven't done him any favors. And yes, there have always been sky-high expectations for Clyde, and it's not his fault that those expectations were high. And, you know, hey, was there a better situation for him? You know, was this always going to be the way it works out in the NFL? I don't know. But it has always seemed to me that Clyde's a little bit of a square peg into a round hole, and he's always kind of gotten blamed for it. I don't think that a lot of things that he's been blamed for are entirely within his control. Yeah,
I think that's all absolutely dead on, and a lot of that conversation either was or maybe should have been about what the Chiefs were doing there, not Clyde individually. So, yeah, nice to see him have the payoff of this game that he did today, and nice to be able to talk to you about a Chiefs victory, Matt. It's been ages. Not really, but it kind of feels like it. So what's coming up on Chiefs Digest? And then tell people about 41 is the mic, then we'll let you go.
Yeah, I'll be looking at Clyde's day today and getting into that. I'll be looking at Rashee Rice as he continues to rewrite the Chiefs rookie record books. And then, Nick and I will be recording 41 is the mic here in a little bit, so I can't really give you any hints except that Nick has told me that, since the Chiefs won, there may not be a Nick Jacobs rant, and I'm not real happy about that, so I'm going to try and provoke him the best I can.
Yeah, I would say go ahead and just send him that Kadarius Toney pick, and then just maybe he missed it the first time. I don't know. I took some calls earlier, and I did find that people found some things to rant about, so I can text you some ideas in the break if you need them.
I always appreciate those, Josh, because there's nothing I like better than provoking Nick into a rant.
I know, not really. That's America's game. So, Matt, appreciate you as always, my friend. We'll have a Merry Christmas. We may talk to you on Christmas. I'm not sure yet. I'll text you about that also. We'll see you Friday in the zone, and we'll chat again then.
I was going to say, it just entirely depends on your holiday schedule, Josh, because I have to work all the time.
Yes, I know we will see you on Friday, and then we'll figure it out around that. So looking forward to it, and everything else on ChiefsDigest.com. Thank you, Matt.
Take care, Joshua. Thank you.
That's Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. 41 is the mic, and brought to you by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to caponelending.com and go to ChiefsDigest.com to see Matt's further takes on the game and all the great work he does covering the Chiefs all year long. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up before we hand you over to Cowboys and Bills, which is going interestingly for a few reasons. We'll break down what's going on around the rest of the NFL and then a great primetime game tonight. That's the plan here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Kelsey, 3rd down and 8. Patriots bringing some pressure. Lets it fly. Watson has it. What a strike from Mahomes. A bullet, 34 yards and a first down into Patriots territory.
But I think the big thing, here's Watson right here. There's Kelsey on the inside. Everybody looks at Kelsey, right? That allows you to get Justin Watson, one-on-one with Nick Jones right there. Safety over the top is a little bit late because he's even got his eyes on Travis Kelsey down inside.
Chiefs win 27-17 over the Patriots today. The Chiefs get a much-needed stop to the skid as they fall twice in a row. Now they rise to 9-5 in a crowded, busy, messy, packed AFC. We will bring you the entirety of the fourth quarter and maybe a little bit here for the final moments of the third quarter of Cowboys at Bills coming up here in just a second on your home for the NFL, Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City. But the thing I did not expect, my DraftKings account can prove this, is that the Bills right now are up by 3 touchdowns, 24-3. Buffalo, a week after surviving Kansas City by the size of Kadarius Toney's shoe, they're now up by 3 touchdowns on the team in the NFC that just became the team, at least behind the Niners, in the NFC that you could genuinely fear after their recent run. Now they're falling to Buffalo, who with a win would rise to 8-6. Now 8-6 is not a great record, but the way the Bills are playing, it feels like they are set for the playoffs. You've got all these wild card spots, but here's what it looks like. The Texans, without C.J. Stroud today, get a win. They're 8-6. The Indianapolis Colts and Cincinnati Bengals, also without their starting quarterbacks, and have been for a little longer, of course, both 8-6 as well. The Browns at 9-5, and you root for the Jags tonight to get a game on the Ravens, because if Baltimore falls, it opens up the Chiefs' chances for that 1 seed all over again. By the way, the Panthers get the win today, 9-7 at home over the Falcons. No one wants to win that division, and the Panthers don't even get their own pick, so I guess good for them. Here's where I actually stand right now with the AFC swirling the way that it does. I don't feel like I can move the Chiefs up or down, any sort of power rankings, any sort of confidence index. The Kansas City Chiefs you saw today are the Kansas City Chiefs of the 2023 NFL season. You get a great defensive performance against a largely hapless offense, and you get an okay offensive performance against a defense that's deserving of your respect. But it also comes with mistakes, self-inflicted wounds, drops that turn into interceptions, and you can't have that come playoff time. It was good enough for today, though. The Chiefs victorious, 27-17 over the Patriots. We'll have a whole lot more to say the rest of this week on Sports Radio 810, but until then, bye, Mom!